Okay. Court's on the record in cause number 21 DCV 284013, the Lucanville and Hughes matter. Counsel, if you would please each identify yourselves and the party that you represent for the record, beginning with Movements Counsel.
My name is Morgan Heater. I am representing the respondent, Mr. David M. Hughes.
Hold on, we just lost Mr. Tracton. We're going to go off the record for a second. We've on our Zoom trial, we just lost the attorney and Ms. Lucanville. They're coming back in now.
Sorry about that, Judge.
For the record, we just lost Mr. Tracton for 1 second. Nothing happened while he was gone. He's back with us now. We're still on the record. The court's on the record in cause number 21 DCV 284013 in the matter of the marriage of Alexis Lucanville and David Hughes. Counsel, if you would please each identify yourselves for the record and the party that you represent, beginning with Movements Counsel.
Yes, my name is Morgan Heater. I'm the attorney for respondent, Mr. David M. Hughes, who's present over Zoom today.
I'm Michael Tracton. I represent Ms. Lucanville and in this temporary order here as responding for it.
If I can have the parties please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you're going to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. You may put your hands down. Are there any stipulations or preliminary matters that we need to address from either side, beginning with Ms. Hibner?
Yes, Judge, I believe Heater. Yes, sir. I believe we've got my client's mother as a witness. She may be in the waiting room. I didn't know if she needed to be brought in. I've instructed her not to watch.
Yeah, she is not in the waiting room yet. So if the rule gets invoked, which it may very well be, then we can either bring her into the waiting room. That would be the best thing, so that I can give her admonitions.
Yes, I'm asking my client to instruct her to go ahead and log in right now.
Great. And then we'll swear her in as well. But any other preliminary matters or stipulations that we need to address?
Yes, me and Mr. Tracton were able to speak yesterday regarding stipulations to exhibits. Mr. Tracton, I can go through and stipulate to your exhibits.
Best way.
All right. In regards to petitioner's exhibits, I do not object to petitioner's exhibit 1, petitioner's exhibit 2, petitioner's exhibit 3, petitioner's exhibit 4, petitioner's exhibit 5, petitioner's exhibit number 9, petitioner's exhibit number 10, petitioner's exhibit number 11, petitioner's exhibit number 12, petitioner's exhibit number 13, petitioner's exhibit 14, and then I don't object to petitioner's exhibit 15 and 16, but I've gone ahead and filed the whole Our Family Wizard, and so I don't know if Mr. Tracton is still going to move forward with his cutouts.
Okay.
But I don't object to those exhibits.
Got it. All right. So, Mr. Tracton, are you offering petitioners 1 through 5 and 9 through 16 at this time?
I am, Your Honor.
Our petitioners 1 through 5 and 9 through 16 are admitted. Mr. Tracton, if you'll let me know what exhibits of respondents you are unopposed to.
On the list that I have, Your Honor, identified with the first item saying 2021 and 2022 calendar, that list has 1 through 9. And on that list, we have stipulated to agreeing to item 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay. And Ms. Hebner, are you offering respondents 2 through 5 at this time?
I am, Judge.
All right, respondents 2 through 5 are admitted. And Ms. Hughes is joining us now, so let me bring her in.
Yes, please have her join with visual. And then after that, go ahead and move your phone to the side because you don't want anyone to think you're using it. Please. Ms. Hughes, are you able to turn on your video camera?
Zoom.
There you
There.
go.
Sorry,
All right, ma'am, if you would please state your name for me.
Patricia J. Hughes.
And Ms. Hughes, if you would please, you've been told, or I've been told, that you're going to be a witness in this case. If you would please raise your right hand to be sworn.
Okay,
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you're going to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. And then is either side invoking the rule?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Hughes, the rule has been invoked, and what that means is you won't be allowed to watch the proceedings while they're taking place because you're a witness. So like if you were at the courthouse, we would take you out in the hallway and the bailiff would come get you when it's your turn to testify. So the rule means you can't listen to the testimony that's going on in the courtroom, but also that means you can't have any discussions with anybody about the testimony going on during the hearing. So if one of the parties were to call you up and say, hey, let me tell you what she said on the stand, or what you're never going to believe what he said, that would be an inappropriate conversation. And you won't be allowed to testify if you have a conversation like that, and you can get in trouble with the court. So the best thing is you can talk to the lawyers if they call you and say, let me tell you how to testify, or how, the judge likes this done, or what the rules are like. But don't have any conversations with anyone about what actually is transpiring in the hearing until you've testified. Do you understand, or do you have any questions?
Yes, no questions.
All right, Ms. Hughes, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and release you so you don't have to stay in the waiting room attached to your computer all day. I expect you're going to be called within the next couple of hours. But if you want to just wait and be by your phone, they can
Yeah.
contact you and you can log back in. Okay?
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
And Ms. Hughes, make sure you don't watch on YouTube. I don't know if you even know how to do that, but don't do that either.
Oh, I won't.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. Any other matters that we need to address before we get into opening statements?
I do not have any housekeeping issue. Oh, sorry, Mr. Tractor.
You said no. All right. Ms. Hebner, you may begin with your opening.
All right, we are here today to discuss possession and access of a toddler who has just turned 1 year old. My client is Mr. David Hughes. There was an incident back in March of 2021 that we will go into that precipitated the filing of this divorce. Since that time, my client has addressed his mental health issues. He has been enrolled in SoberLink and voluntarily taking 3 tests per day. There has been 1 fail, which my client will testify, not sure why. All he had that morning was espresso. He's also going to go through why there are a few missed tests. And then we're also going to present evidence on a step-up schedule that we would like to have with the child. My client has had supervised visits with Guardians of Hope, and there will be testimony that there were no issues by either party will be elicited out of the Our Family Wizard messages. My client's mother is a retired preschool teacher, and if he absolutely has to have a supervisor, that is the person that my client would request that supervise him. My client has been living at home with his mother. He's been working on his education. He's got a full-time job that he's still currently employed with and has been for the past 9 years. He's going to go through all of the items that he's missed since September of 2021 with him not having had access to his child. There was some excessive drinking, not only on my client's part, but there was also excessive drinking and drug use on the other side. We are going to go through the issues that occurred during 2020 that led up to the filing of this divorce, and an unfortunate miscarriage that also occurred that precipitated my client having an issue in March of 2021. Judge, today my client's going to ask you to please allow him to see his child unrestricted. He can't afford to continue to do Guardians of Hope. He cannot afford to keep paying for visits every time he wants to see his child. And when he was using Guardians of Hope, it was on a very restricted basis because he's just an EMS driver. He doesn't have a lot of money. My client does have an odd schedule. We have a calendar so that the court is aware of his working days between now and the end of this year in December of 2022 with a proposed schedule so that he can step all the way up so that he can hopefully graduate to an SPO on the child's second birthday. My client's not asking for overnights until then. He's just trying to spend time with his child so that he can keep that bond or reestablish that bond. And that's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Hebner. Mr. Tracton, would you like to give your opening at this time?
I'll save my opening, Your Honor, for the, for my case, my part of the case.
Okay. Ms. Hebner, you may call your first witness.
All right, at this time, I'd like to call Mr. David Hughes. Mr.
You may
Hughes,
proceed.
state your name for the record.
David N. Hughes.
Can everyone hear Mr. Hughes?
I'm having
Yes.
some problem.
He's going to have to keep his voice up. It is
Yeah, it's just gonna be right
hard to
here
hear.
in this chair, and I'm going to face this direction. Move on. Yeah, just right. Yeah, right here. There you go. Okay, Mr. Hughes, please state your name for the record.
David N. Hughes.
Everyone can hear? Okay.
I didn't hear his middle initial or name, if that's what you're asking too.
I just want to make sure
I
everybody
can
can
hear
hear
him.
him.
I can hear him just fine, but let's make sure, Mr. Hughes, you keep your voice up. I understand that everybody needs mask on, being that close to one another, but just because you have a mask on, it's hard for us to hear your enunciation. So just make sure you're keeping your voice up for Mr. Tracton and myself.
All right, Mr. Hughes, what is it that you do for a living?
I'm an EMT,
Okay, and how long have you been with this job?
over 7 years.
Okay, and what is your work schedule?
Work 24 hours at a time, 24 hours off, 24 hours on, 24 hours off, 24 hours on, and then I have 4 days off.
Okay, so there's 5 days that you're working on and off, and
Correct,
then you've got a 4-day break,
correct,
and that's referred to as a Kelly schedule?
correct.
Okay, and have you put together what you would request the court use as a step-up possession and access schedule with your child?
Yes,
Okay, and we're live on Zoom, so just refer to him always as child, don't say his name.
okay.
Okay, and so when you crafted this schedule that you'd like to present to the court, did you start this schedule when your possession and access through Guardians of Hope had ended?
Yes,
Your
Okay.
Honor, I'm going to make an objection as to leading so that Mr. Hughes can give us more of his information.
Overruled at this time. It is leading, but I'm going to allow it just because we're getting into this early stuff. So overruled. You may continue.
Okay, and Mr. Hughes, when you started your possession access schedule, what were the hour blocks that you wanted to start with?
I believe it was 2 hours,
Okay, and then you were wanting to step up into how many hours?
6, I think.
Your Honor, I'm going to, again, to just ask that it be Mr. Hughes that provides the data in regards.
Overruled. Next question.
Okay, Mr. Hughes, was it a 4-hour block?
4-hour block and then 6, I believe.
Okay, and then what would have been the final hour block before you were wanting to start overnights?
8 hours.
Okay, and so at this point in the calendar that you had created, which hour block would you have been in?
I believe 6.
Okay, and so are you asking today that the
Is that just
court,
against evidence, Your Honor, what date or calendar block or anything else? There's no calendar before the court.
All right. Objections overruled. You may continue.
okay, and so Mr. Hughes, as of today, what length of time would you like to have with your child?
6 hours,
Okay, and then what time would you like for that to start at?
9 a.m.,
And what time would you like for that to end?
I believe 3.
Okay, and so I'm going to, it's hard for me to approach. May I show the witness his calendar that he has created, not sharing screen yet with the court?
It's admitted, Your Honor. Oh, no, it's not admitted. You have to put it in.
So-
If you want to let it in, I'm good with letting it. I mean, are you no, stipulation?
No.
Okay.
I generally don't want the screen shared until the exhibit's in evidence. So if you can lay your predicate before with him and then you can offer it and then you can share your screen.
Okay, and Mr. Hughes, did you create this as a shorthand rendition of what it is that you're requesting of the court today?
Yes,
And is this something that you created to assist the court in what it is that your request of relief is today?
yes,
Okay, at this time, I would move to admit petitioner's exhibit number 1.
Any objection to R1, Mr.?
I'm sorry, respondent.
The, again, the document that I have before me has colors on it. And is, it's color coded with information, Your Honor. I'm just, my request is that it's actually 2 pages and we're going to agree to both pages. We're not objecting.
Oh, okay. R1 is admitted.
All right, so may I please share screen with the court?
You may.
All right, Mr. Hughes, is this the schedule that we have created that we are discussing today?
Yes, it is.
Okay, sorry, where's my mouse? There we go. Okay, and so this started back here in October. So yeah, what are the yellows? Because we haven't actually identified that. What are those?
The yellows are 2 hours blocks.
Are the yellow, is the yellow the days that you work?
Yes.
Okay, and the 2-hour blocks are up here highlighted, correct?
Right, green.
Okay, and so we are actually down here now in January where you would have started 6-hour blocks, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so are you asking the court today to start here at this point?
Yes, please.
Are you opposed that if the court were to shuffle this back to starting with the 2-hour blocks, are you opposed to that?
No, I'm not.
Okay, and are you asking that this all be unsupervised?
Yes.
Are you asking for pickup and drop off to occur at a neutral location?
Yes.
Okay, and where would you like that neutral location to be?
Somewhere on 99. I have no issue driving a little further if I need to.
Okay, and so are you opposed to actually meeting at your marital residence?
If I have to, I'm not opposed.
Okay, and so are you opposed to your mother supervising you?
No.
And how is your mom available during the middle of the times here during the week?
She is a retired preschool teacher.
Okay, and so she would be available with you to do this?
Yes.
Okay, are you currently enrolled in SoberLink?
Yes.
Are you opposed to staying enrolled in SoberLink while you move through this process?
No.
Okay, do you think you have a drinking problem?
No.
Okay, and while you were using SoberLink, did you miss any of, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen. Did you miss any of your tests?
Yes.
Okay, and why did you miss some of those tests?
Sometimes I slept in after my shifts. Sometimes I left it at work. Sometimes I left it at home.
Okay, and so, but you would have middle of the day blows and evening blows to account for that, correct?
Yes.
What were the times that you were using SoberLink?
9 a.m. I could blow as early as 8:45. 3 p.m. I could blow as early as 2:45, and 9 p.m. I could blow as early as 8:45.
All right, and did you enter into a contract with SoberLink?
Yes.
Did you enter into a contract with SoberLink back in July?
Yes.
Were you ordered to enter into SoberLink?
No.
Did you agree in an MSA to enter into SoberLink?
I don't understand the question.
In our mediated settlement agreement, did you agree to do SoberLink?
No.
Okay, and so why did you sign up for SoberLink?
Voluntary, to show that I was doing better and didn't have a drinking problem.
Okay, and so let's talk about March of 2021. Tell me a little bit about what happened in March of 2021.
Basically, I was in a depressed state, as I had been, progressively worsening. I sat down on the toilet and cracked the tank. Walked in to get towels to clean it up. Lexi started getting angry at me. I apologized, sat down on the couch, and she came out of the room a few times and shamed me and berated me, and I got upset. And she had her mother spy on us, more or less, and
Objection.
call the police.
Hold on. If you hear an objection, Mr. Hughes, stop talking. What's the objection, Mr. Crackman?
Speculation regarding his mother and relevance. I mean, her mother and relevance.
Sustained as to what mother did.
Okay, so don't talk about what anybody else did, just talk
Okay.
about you. So, okay, so you sat down on the couch
Okay.
and then you mentioned the police were called.
At one point, the police were called. I was placed under emergency detention order for suicidal ideation. And I spent time in the hospital, got released. After that, started to see a counselor, quit drinking, got put on medication for depression and anxiety, was diagnosed with severe depression.
Okay, and so, how often were you seeing a counselor starting in March of 2021?
Initially, once to twice a week.
Okay, and how long were you held on that emergency hold?
I want to say possibly around somewhere 14 hours or so.
Okay, and then you were released?
Yes.
Did you oppose being taken in on the emergency hold?
They never asked me.
Okay, and were you voluntarily released?
Yes.
Okay, and after seeing the counselor once or twice a week, how often are you seeing him now?
Once a month.
Once a month, okay, and you're currently on medication?
Lexapro.
Okay, and you're not drinking?
Correct.
Objection leading, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Okay, Mr. Hughes, are you currently drinking?
No.
Okay, and following your release and seeing your counselor, have you done anything else to improve yourself?
Enrolled in school, so I can better provide for the child.
Okay, what are you doing in school?
Finishing my paramedic and then hopefully moving on to my RN.
Okay, and so your goal here is a nursing degree? Okay, and have you taken on any extracurricular activities?
With 24-hour shifts in school, it takes up almost all of my time.
Okay, have you started any physical exercise?
Yes, I ride bikes and I play hockey.
Okay, and were you gifted a bike?
Yes.
Okay, what kind of bike were you gifted?
Your Honor, I'm gonna ask the.
Don't lead your witness.
Answer.
Okay, Mr. Hughes, do you own a bicycle?
Yes.
How did you get that bicycle?
My parents' neighbor gifted it to me or loaned it to me.
Okay, and why do you need a bicycle?
I wanted to do more exercise to continue to work on my mental health.
Okay, and since that incident, have you had any mental health issues?
No.
Okay, and have you ever been, are you in AA?
No.
Has anyone ever told you that you need to go to AA?
No.
Has your counselor ever suggested that you'd benefit from a support group?
No.
Okay, and you're still under the care,
Your Honor.
Sustained.
okay, and you've never been instructed by, strike that, okay. And you've been living at home the whole time with your parents, correct?
Yes.
Are they charging you rent?
No.
Let's go into your current obligations with your finances. How much do you earn per month?
Roughly $3,000 a month.
All right, so you're getting about $3,000 a month take home. Does that include overtime?
Yes. With my schedule, there is built-in overtime.
All right, how often are you working overtime?
Right now, not much due to school.
Okay, and other than school and overtime, that takes care of all of your additional time?
Other than hockey,
Is your overtime going to fall backwards if you're granted more time with your child?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Overruled. You can answer if you know.
no, the overtime is built in.
Okay, so you've heard mention of issues with animal abuse. Have you ever abused an animal?
No.
Okay, have you ever hit Lexi?
No.
Have you and Lexi ever called the police other than the March 2021 incident?
No.
Okay, and do you think Lexi has a drinking problem?
Up until she got pregnant.
Okay, which time?
the first time.
Objection, Your Honor, as to a date and a time that he's referring to in this case, because up until she got pregnant with more than one pregnancy is an issue.
I followed up with the second question on that.
Yeah, I think she's clarifying it. So overruled. You may answer that, sir.
Okay,
Up until she got pregnant the first time.
okay, and when was that?
The year before, well, she was pregnant at our wedding, actually.
Objection time, Your Honor.
Okay, when was your wedding?
December 1st, 2018.
Okay, so in 2018, she was pregnant, and then y'all had a miscarriage
Correct.
and that would have been in what year?
2019.
Okay, and then, does Lexi have any other issues with substances that you're aware of, or you have concerns about?
Yes, marijuana use.
Okay, and how often, when you lived at home prior to, in 2021 of March, how often was Lexi using marijuana?
Multiple times a week.
I'm
Okay,
sorry, I didn't hear the answer, Your Honor.
Multiple times a week.
okay, and did you ever address those concerns with her?
Yes.
Okay, and what were her responses to you?
Didn't matter. Did not matter.
Okay, and do you have concerns with how she's providing care for your child?
No, I do not.
Okay, and you don't have any, do you feel like Lexi keeps you updated in regards to what's going on with Taryn?
Not at all.
Okay, and so if you were able to see Taryn more often, do you feel this would keep you more involved with him?
Yes.
Okay, when you say you don't feel that she keeps you involved with Taryn, what are some examples of that?
She went to a bachelorette party and did not notify me who was watching him.
I'm gonna stop you right there. When was that?
Very recently, about 2 weeks ago.
Okay,
Taryn was sick about a month, maybe a month and a half ago. She took him to the urgent care or ER, I don't know which, for breathing problems, I believe. He got to put on albuterol and other things. She did not notify me of this until almost an entire day after.
did she notify you that he was having any health issues?
No.
Okay, I'm going to share with you what is been pre-admitted under Respondents Exhibit number 5, and I'm going to flip to page 28. May I share screen?
You may.
All right, and is that, oh, I'm sorry, it's not paid, so it's 28 on. Sorry, I hope I'm not making everybody dizzy. I just need to get to page 28. Okay, so it's page 42 of the exhibit, and this is down here, correct?
Correct.
All right, and does she ever enter his doctor visits into the calendar feature?
No.
Did he have checkups?
Yes.
Did she enter those visits into our family wizard?
No.
Okay, and then have you asked her to please let you know when these doctor's visits are
Yes.
occurring?
And I've also asked if I could be present during the doctor's visits.
And does she allow you to be there?
No.
Do you want to be there?
Yes.
Prior to y'all separating, were you present for his checkups?
Everyone that I wasn't at work.
Okay,
I
and
didn't
so,
I didn't hear the answer. Everyone that what?
I was at every doctor's visit that I wasn't at work.
okay, and I mean, he was 10 months old when you moved out, so he'd had probably about 4 doctor's visits.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to
Five
the
months.
frame being saying as to when the age of the child that was when he moved out response, in that there's been testimony already as to the date he moved out and the date that the child was born.
Overruled. You may answer that, sir. Do you know how many doctor visits you went to before you moved out?
It was at least 2, maybe 3.
Okay, and so he was born in October of 2020. He
Correct.
moved out in March of 2021.
Yes.
Okay, and during that time period, did he have any health issues?
No.
So there were no additional doctor's visits?
No.
Okay, and did you and Lexi discuss your child's health during that time period?
No.
Okay. When, during this time period of you having not seen, let me stop sharing screen, I apologize. During this time period from October of 2021 to now, have you asked to see your child?
Yes, every week.
And what has been the response?
She refers to Guardians of Hope. And I'm under the impression that if we come to an agreement, that it's not necessary.
Okay, so let's go through some of these requests here. Were you asking to have him overnight?
No,
Did you ask for just a couple hours?
no specific time, but yes, a couple hours would have been great.
Did you offer to use your mother as a supervisor?
Yes, I did.
Did you offer to use her parents as a supervisor?
I don't remember.
Okay, did you agree to using Guardians of Hope?
Yes, if she was willing to pay for it.
Okay, and so, how much is Guardians of Hope?
$110 per visit.
Okay, and how much were you paying for SoberLink?
I believe it's $150 a month.
Okay, and can you continue to afford to do both SoberLink and pay for Guardians of Hope?
No.
Okay, and when we're going through your financial information statement that that you provided to the court, did you itemize out all of your bills that you have?
Your Honor, maybe I'm missing something. I don't have that on my exhibits.
Yeah, I don't show that either. An
Yeah,
FIS.
it was, I'm sorry, it was filed with the court yesterday into the court's actual file.
I do not have that, Your Honor. On my, as an exhibit, it may be in the computer. I haven't opened it this morning.
Well, what I would say is, he can testify from his memory. The court can take judicial notice of pleadings, but Mr. Tracton needs to be able to review that before because he's entitled to object to me taking judicial notice of things. So what I would do is just put on the testimony as best you can without the exhibit if you need to. But I got the testimony. It's $150 a month for SoberLink and $110 per visit for Guardians of Hope.
All right, and do you have a car note right now?
Yes,
How much is your car note?
$547 a month.
Okay, and do you have insurance that you have to pay?
Not currently, but I will.
Okay, what do you mean you will?
I would be under the impression that after this is finalized, I will be paying my own car insurance.
Okay, and so right now your insurance is included in with Lexi
Yes,
and she currently pays that.
yes,
Okay, and do you have any credit cards?
yes.
And how much are you paying per month in credit cards typically?
Anywhere from 100 to 300 a month.
Okay, so you don't have excessive spending there.
I do not use the credit card.
Okay, and are you currently paying child support?
Yes,
How much do you pay child support per month?
$631 a month.
Okay, and then how much is it for you to go see your counselor once a month?
$50.
Okay, and then your medication, how much is your medication per month?
Probably roughly 50 to 70.
Okay, and then how much is it for you to attend school?
$250 a month.
Okay. How much was it?
$250 a month.
All right, and then do you have any additional loans that you have out right now? How are you paying your legal fees?
Loan. My parents are loaning.
Hold on, wait for him to answer the prior question. Do you have any loans outstanding right now?
Yes, from my parents for legal fees, for mediation fees as well.
Okay, and so do you have to purchase any items for work?
Yes, that comes out of my paycheck.
Okay, and how much, well, that's included in what you earn. So that, how much do you think you have in miscellaneous expenses?
Maybe $100 if I'm lucky.
Okay, so you're pretty strapped for cash.
Yes.
You just don't have the money.
Justine, don't lead your witness.
Oh, sorry. Okay. If you were ordered to pay for Guardians of Hope, how would you afford that?
I mean, I would have to find a way.
Okay, and how would that happen?
I'd probably have to do less school and work more overtime.
Okay. And do you think it's in your child's best interest for you to further your education?
Yes, I do.
And if you were to work more, is that going to take away from days that you would have available for your child?
Yes, it would.
Okay, because you're required to work 24-hour windows, correct?
Correct.
All right. Was anyone present in March of 2021 during your incident?
Your Honor, can we have a more specific indication each time we have a reference of a whole month of an incident?
Overall.
Okay, I'll clean
Get
it
a
up.
date of the
I
incident.
mean, I know you're referring to the cracked toilet incident. It's the way the court's taking that. So if the objection's overruled.
Okay. On the date that you cracked the toilet, was anyone else present besides you and Lexi?
Not inside the house.
Okay, who was outside the house?
Deb Martin,
Who is Deb Martin?
Lexi's mother.
All right, did your parents,
I didn't hear, I'm sorry.
Lexi's mother, but I didn't hear the name.
Deborah Martin.
okay, did your parents come over?
After the police arrived, yes.
Okay. And if your mom gets on the stand today, is she gonna tell the judge that you've been drinking?
Objection, Your Honor, is a speculation what someone else is
Sustained.
doing.
Okay, have you been drinking, have you gotten drunk since March of 2021?
No,
Okay, and if you are required to use SoberLink, are you willing to add Lexi as a person who will get those alerts?
yes,
Okay, and are you willing to move the times around so that you blow more frequently when the child is with you?
sure.
Okay, at this time, I have no further questions of this witness.
Okay, let's do this. We're going to take a brief 5-minute break or so people can hit the toilet or whatever they need to do. Because I've got the gentleman with the name change that just joined my waiting room. So I'm going to bring him in. We're going off the record. Let's just do this. Let's meet back at 10:30. So y'all have 8 minutes.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Thorpe, we're going on a break on the other case so that we can take care of you. Time down. Did you email that into the court?
Yes, sir.
Is your printer working? They were supposed to come fix it. Oh, they did. Good. I just sent that to you so you can print it for me. Well, Mr. Thorpe, oh, I lost you. You can get your video up and running.
Sure.
You're making me feel old today. You were born the year I graduated from law school. But if you would please raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you're going to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Swear.
Thank you. And if you could just briefly tell me, it looks like you want to change your name so it'll be easier for everyone to pronounce. Is that basically what you want to do?
Yeah, I just felt like shortening it will be a
Okay.
lot easier.
I'm approving that name change and changing your name to Ty Kane Thorpe. And I've signed the order changing your name. You can get a copy of this order from the district clerk's office a little bit later on today. Okay?
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
You too.
The court's back on the record in the Lukenbill Hughes matter. Mr. Tracton, it's your witness at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hughes, as you heard, my name is Michael Tracton. I represent your wife. You and I have never spoke with each other. Is that correct?
Yes,
And so you were talking about you've worked 7 years for this company that you're presently employed by?
yes.
And who are they?
Katy and ambulance service.
Say again, please.
Katy and ambulance service.
And when you work a 24-hour shift are you awake that entire time?
Very regularly, sometimes we are. Yes.
Okay. And after you work 24 hours, and let's go into what happened from when you were living before March 15, 2021. What would you do after you left work?
Sometimes I would come home and sleep.
And sometimes what else would you do?
Sometimes I'd stay at the station and sleep and come home late. I'd
How
go
long would you
fishing.
be away from the house?
I'm sorry.
On the 24-hour shift and you're sleeping at the station, how long are you away from the house?
Usually if I slept in, it would be about 10, so 27, 28 hours.
You said 10 to 27, but you're working 24. Is that beyond your 24-hour shift?
If I stayed at the station and slept after shift, yes.
So then you would just wait till your next shift?
No.
I'm sorry. And so your second child was born on October 20th, 2020, correct?
Correct.
And at that time, you weren't happy about having another child, were you?
I wasn't happy at all.
Okay. And as a matter of fact, you let your wife know how unhappy you were, didn't you?
Possibly, I don't recall.
And you said you thought you didn't have a problem with alcohol. What would you consider to be a problem with alcohol, since that's how it was phrased to you?
Excessive drinking.
And what would be excessive for you?
4 more beers.
Well, you drink things other than beers too, don't you?
I have.
Well, you shopped at Specs. You weren't buying beer at Specs, were you?
At Specs.
That's my question, sir. Yes.
I don't recall what you're referring to.
When you shopped at Specs, you didn't shop at Specs to buy beer, did you?
Objection vague and time frame.
Sustain this a time frame.
In the year, during the time from the date from when your wife became pregnant with your second child, your present child that's before the court, you shopped at during the time of her pregnancy and after your son was born at Specs. Isn't that correct?
I would assume yes.
Okay. And when what did you buy at Specs?
Objection time frame.
Your Honor, we narrowed down the time frame already.
You may answer that if you remember, sir.
I'm an answer.
Yes.
You may answer. if you-
I don't recall. I don't know.
You also would buy beer at Kroger and places like fast stop places like corner stores and stuff, right?
On occasion,
And would you buy that when you're on your way home from work?
in the morning, no.
So what is your work hours? What time you leave for work?
7 a.m. to 7 a.m.
And how far is your work from your house?
50 minutes.
50 or 15?
50.
Can we figure out which house we're talking about?
I'll rephrase that. From the marital residence, how far were you from your workplace from that marital residence?
50 minutes, 50.
So you would have to leave the house no later than 6 in the morning?
I would typically leave at 5:50.
550?
5:50.
And when you returned, since you were off at 7, just presuming you left work after you got off your shift, what time would you then be home?
Typically, I would be home by 8.
So we would add 2 more hours to your 24-hour shift, correct?
Roughly, yes, sir.
Okay. And potentially also not having slept.
Correct.
So when you were with your shift work, when was it you would drink your alcohol, your beers and everything like that?
Usually only a day or two in the evenings on my 4 days off.
And do you consider yourself having gotten drunk?
Objection vague.
I'm
Uh,
asking in his own opinion, Your Honor.
Sustained as the time frame. Are we still talking about the same time period?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, overall.
Ever? Yes.
And the times that you would get drunk, your wife would either be pregnant or you had a child present with you, correct?
At some points, yes.
And as a fact, you had concerns you expressed about alleged substance abuse by Lexi, correct?
Correct.
All right, and isn't it true that when she became pregnant with the first child, she stopped drinking?
When we found out, yes.
How far along was she when you found out?
The first time,
Yes, sir.
I want to say 10, maybe 12 weeks. I don't quite recall.
Okay, and do you recall about when that was specifically?
A few weeks after our honeymoon.
Okay, can you give me a time, a date, a time, month, something?
Maybe
Objection calls for speculation.
Overall, if you know, sir, you can answer.
maybe March. I'm very uncertain on that though.
A few weeks after you're married?
I'm sorry.
You said a few weeks after you're married?
After the honeymoon, so maybe a month.
Okay. And you had also testified that she was pregnant during your marriage. The day you got married.
Correct.
And you and she had already been living together, isn't that correct?
Correct.
And it's true that neither one of you was, when the first child was conceived, expecting to get pregnant then either.
Correct, but we knew it was a possibility.
Well, who was taking provisions to avoid pregnancy? You or she?
Lexi.
Okay. And so when you say you knew it was possible, why do you say that?
We both knew she stopped taking birth control and we were getting married and we were okay if she were to get pregnant.
So you're saying you both knew that. Why do you know that?
No, I don't understand. Know what exactly?
Was that an agreement you made, or how did you find out she wasn't on birth control if she wasn't?
She told me she wasn't, and we both were okay and in agreement that if she did get pregnant, that would be fine.
So when your second child was conceived, was she on birth control or you were doing birth control?
I was under the impression she was on birth control.
And you all hadn't discussed not being on it, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
In regards to the second child.
In regards to the second child, was I aware? Did we
Okay,
talk
that's
about
the
her?
question here, and I'll move on. Okay, let's go back to our alcohol. She stopped alcohol when you first found out about the first child, which is a month after your marriage, correct?
Correct,
That's years ago, isn't it?
correct.
You haven't seen her drink since then either, have you?
I have.
Well, she did. If she were to testify she hasn't drank since December 2019, could you specifically identify when she did after that?
Probably not.
Okay. And you testified that you had a concern about her use of marijuana.
Correct.
And when was the last time you're aware that that occurred?
The night the police were called, March 2021.
And well, when the police were called, do you remember why they were called?
Because of my suicidal ideation in our argument.
And what was that suicidal ideation that you did?
I don't recall.
Do you recall putting a loaded weapon in your mouth?
No,
Was that because you were so drunk?
no,
Why do you not recall putting a loaded weapon in your mouth?
it did not go in my mouth.
Okay, where did you put the weapon?
I didn't put it anywhere. I grabbed it.
I'm sorry, you what it?
I didn't put it anywhere. I grabbed it
Where was it located?
in my hand.
Okay, and in your hand, that weapon went off, didn't it?
Yes.
And when it
Lexi,
went off, that bullet was in the apartment, just shot out there, didn't it?
yes.
And where was your child?
There was no child.
Well, we're talking about March 15th, 2021.
There
What
was,
was
there
Your
was no
suicidal
gun.
idea- Go ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
There was no gun in that instance.
So what was it you did that caused the concern about you would hurt yourself?
I told her she was aware that I was already in a depressive state.
Well, did the paramedics determine you worked too?
What paramedics?
Whoever came in to put you in the hospital
The
for
police.
for the period of time you were being in the checked.
The police came and put me under emergency detention.
Did it appear to you they had concerns?
Yeah.
And do you agree their concerns were legitimate?
Considering the way I felt, yes.
Okay, so when you do you own any guns?
Yes.
And where are they kept?
My dad's safe
Where's that located?
in his room.
Where, I'm sorry,
It-
bad
it-
question. Is
in
that
his-
that's in the same house as you, correct?
Right. In his closet, specifically in a safe.
Okay, and that's something you have access to also, correct?
I don't know the combination, no.
Okay, how many weapons are there?
Total?
Yes.
I don't know.
How many weapons do you have?
Four. So I believe four, maybe five.
Okay. And of those 4 or 5, we were talking about an occasion when you had a weapon in your hand when the bullet was exited the chamber, correct?
Yes.
When was that?
At least 5 years ago.
So at that time, you had thoughts of killing yourself then too,
Correct.
and that predated the marriage.
Correct.
So you have on occasion felt so despondent, you had to feel like you needed a gun to kill yourself?
Back then, it was very common occurrence.
It was a common occurrence?
It was a common thought. Yes.
And what therapy did you get, if any?
At that time, none.
Okay, when was it you first saw a therapist in the last 5 years then, since you put that gun, you took out a gun to that discharged while in your hand in depressed state?
Right after we separated.
Okay, and who decided on the therapist?
Myself.
Who picked out the therapist?
Myself.
Where did you find the therapist?
He was recommended on online as a marriage counselor and mental health.
Now, as a marriage counselor, what was the purpose that you were seeing this therapist?
For my mental health.
Not for your marriage?
I was hoping that maybe it would come to that. But first I needed to take care of myself.
In taking care of yourself and seeing this therapist, when would you see the therapist with your work schedule?
I had his personal number, so I was able to text him and work around. On my days off, I would see him obviously, but he was pretty flexible.
Can I get the name of that counselor, please?
Dr. Weisner.
Would you spell the last name if you know it?
I do not know it.
Where's he located?
The Woodlands, Texas.
And where do you currently live?
The Woodlands, Texas.
How far is it from the Woodlands, Texas to the marital residence?
50 minutes.
Is that with or without traffic?
Without.
How much is it with traffic?
I couldn't say. Maybe 10, maybe 20 minutes more.
Where is the marital residence located?
In Katy, Cinco Ranch.
Now, you said you haven't seen your son for a period of time, correct?
Correct.
When's the last time you saw your son?
October 25th.
25?
25.
Okay. Isn't October 25th the day we were in mediation?
It may have been 24th.
You have a problem with your memory?
I don't. Yeah, maybe.
And when you would drink, would that affect also your memory? Because you wouldn't remember what happened during the time you were drinking?
Not always.
And when you in regards to your drinking, you didn't quit drinking until, if you did quit drinking, but you allegedly did not quit drinking until you had to leave the house, did you?
I'm sorry.
You did not allegedly quit drinking until you left the house, did you? In March?
I was intoxicated when the police were called, so yes.
And when you say you're intoxicated, were you belligerent and combative?
Not initially.
And you,
I wouldn't say I was, no.
okay, now, in regards to your funds that you have available, you said you don't pay any rent to live in the house, correct? In your parents' house.
Correct.
You only pay $631 or so as child support, correct?
Correct.
And you work a 40-hour work week plus 20 hours of overtime every week, correct?
72.
Well, you're paid every other week?
Yeah, every other week.
Okay, and
Well,
your paycheck, and your
Twice a
paycheck,
month, yes.
I'm sorry, say again, please.
Twice a month, yes.
Oh, twice a month?
Every other Friday.
Okay, let's be clear. Every other Friday is not 2 times every month. It's sometimes 3 times a month, correct?
I suppose on occasion. My paydays are on Fridays, yes.
Okay, and you are on your paycheck stubs that are entered as Exhibit 3 on your exhibits. It shows on, and I'll give you a page.
May I share with him the printed out copy or pull it up so we can know what you're looking at?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Your Honor, and I'm going to refer you to Exhibit 3. Your paycheck stub with the last pay date being December 31st, it says total hours 120. Do you see that, sir?
December 31st?
The very last paycheck for the year 2021.
Yes, I do.
Okay. 120 hours you worked that week, correct? Or that pay period?
Yes.
Okay. And you live in the Woodlands. So from where you currently reside and your workplace, how far is it?
50 minutes.
Same amount.
Yes.
Okay. Where's the your base location for the your job?
Like an address or roughly?
Roughly.
Pasadena.
So you go from Woodlands to Pasadena regularly.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'm going to go back to, I want to show you the document that I have next to or identified on your as your payroll check. And it says that it is dated pay period 10/22/21. Do you see that one?
Yes.
It too says 120 hours work, so 60 hours for the 2 weeks period, correct?
Correct.
And the paycheck stub that precedes that one, that is, well, they're both the same. I'll move on from that one. On the paycheck stub that shows a pay date of 10/8/21. You see that?
Yes.
And on the one that's dated 10/8/21 that has 107 hours, was there a reason why you didn't work the extra 13 hours?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think maybe I just didn't get paid for it.
But that your usual work schedule is the same every day, 24 on, 24 off, the Kelly, as it was referred to earlier in your testimony, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you receive other money, don't you, besides just the income from your job, don't you?
Not currently.
Well, the work, you live at your home, so I guess your mother helps you cover your bills, doesn't she?
On occasion.
Well, on the occasion, and let's look at in your Your responses. The documents you provided. I stand corrected, it's not yours. You, in your discovery responses, you provided to my client or for us as part of the discovery, you provided credit cards and banking statements, correct?
Correct.
And you and your, you don't share a bank account with Lexi, do you?
No,
And in not sharing a bank account with Lexi, you and your mother do the transactions in and out of your account, correct?
sometimes.
Well, when did you get your account with your mother?
It's been years,
Before you got married?
long before we were together.
Okay, and the accounts that you had from your mother, with your mother. You exceeded what you could afford to pay each month, isn't that correct? When I say afford to pay, you couldn't cover all your bills every month.
Objection, time frame.
I'll rephrase the question, Your Honor. You did not earn enough money that you deposited into your own account to pay your monthly bills, correct?
Objection, time frame.
Sustains.
Since the date you were married, you did not earn enough money each month to cover your personal bills, isn't that correct?
Maybe sometimes on occasion.
Well, when you say on occasion, would I be correct if I said that as a regular occurrence? And I'll give you examples. Let's look at the your bank account. And for reference purposes, Your Honor, I'm going, that's admitted already is Miss Luckenbill's exhibit number 11.
I did not print out all of these because I didn't want to kill that many trees. So can you share screen or so we can all follow along?
Yes, I can. Let me, I'm a little,
Well, we're gonna stop the live stream if we're sharing. Well, it looks like it's actually redacted on the exhibit I have is redacted, so it's okay. You can share the
Okay.
screen, Mr. Trackman.
all right, I'm going to make that attempt at the moment. Where do I get this thing to start? How do I get the
The
disc in
folder
there? Where's the folder?
down at the bottom of the screen.
No, which one is it? This one?
Right, yes. USB drive to the left.
Okay. Can y'all see what I have on screen?
We can.
Can.
Okay. Mr. Hughes, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, this is just starting. I'm sorry? Oh, okay. You see the deposits being made there?
Yes.
Okay, it says an online transfer from account number 9561. What account is that?
I believe it's my mother's.
Objection calls for,
Overruled.
And so when you say you believe, is there any reason to not believe it's your mother's?
No,
Okay, so I see 5 transactions on there other than payroll. Is that accurate?
correct.
And there's 1,100, 1850, 1920, 21, about 21, almost $2,200 this month put in your account, this month being first month of 2020. Is that correct?
Correct.
And at this point, Judge, I'm just gonna object to relevance. I'm not sure what these deposits back at the beginning.
Mr. Tractor, we're just trying to prove he doesn't have the money to pay for Sober Lincoln Guardians of Hope. I don't understand the relevance that he's not paying his bills timely.
Your Honor, the income and the money coming into his account is additional income he receives, not just his payroll.
I understand that, but these are, looks like transfers from his mother's account. So how's that helping me other than showing he doesn't have money to pay his bills?
Your Honor, because the payment of bills is because he incurs it because he gets it from his mother. Any money he needs, she'll cover the
Oh, I
account.
see. Okay, objection sustained.
Okay, Mr. Hughes, you see the account, the page I'm looking at here with dated 127, transfer from 9561. You see it right here?
Yes,
Okay, can you see it right here? 500.
yes.
Judge, I thought this was sustained and we were moving on.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry.
there's no guarantee mom's going to continue to pay the bills. I'm not going to rule on the fact that mom has paid his bills in the past as an indication she's going to just pay whatever I order her to pay because she's not before me. So the objection sustained.
Okay, and Mr. Hughes, you started up a business, haven't you?
Can we stop sharing screen, please?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Top one.
Up here. Oh, stop saying it.
Yeah.
There you go. You began a business, haven't you, since you've been separated from your wife?
I had, yes,
You say you had. You're in the woodworking business, aren't you?
correct.
And you've been buying exotic woods to do your woodwork, correct?
In the past, yes,
Well, in the past, it's during the time you got separated from your wife.
correct.
Okay, and during that past, you had to have tools, didn't you?
Correct.
And you had to buy those tools, didn't you?
Not necessarily
Did you buy tools?
at times.
So you had money to go. Would you consider the business of the woodworking a business or a hobby?
It was an attempt at a business,
A what?
an attempt at a business.
Oh, attempt, okay. And you were selling these products of yours?
Yes,
And you shopped and bought woods, correct?
occasionally, yes,
Okay. And was that part of you used your income to be able to buy that?
occasionally.
You said, or you've testified that you're paying your credit cards at $100 to a few $100s per month?
I believe, yes, 100 to 300s.
When did you start doing that?
Paying my credit card?
At 100 to 300 a month?
Unsure.
Okay, would it be, and if you give me 1 second here, I will. Be more specific on timelines. Before I get to my next question, are you familiar with the savings account that ends in 3901?
No,
Do you know why money would be sent to you or transferred from a savings account with that number?
no.
Can you tell me what you spend $108.24 a month on from Apple? Or using your Apple account?
I couldn't tell you, but it's no longer.
Objection. Speculation, sorry.
Overruled. Overruled. He answered it. He couldn't tell you.
You enjoy gaming on your cell phone, don't you?
In the past,
Okay, well, would you say that your word past is a recent past?
Objection argumentative and vague.
Overruled. You may answer that, sir.
relatively recent.
Okay, when do you think was the last time you did it?
Gamed or spent money on the game?
What? Well, you spent money on your cell phone buying games and using Apple or Microsoft.
I believe it's been months now.
And when you say months, was it after March 15th, 2021?
Possibly.
Okay, and months presently, that's going to be 10 months ago. So are you saying about 2-3 months ago you stopped?
I don't recall. I don't think so.
All right, and you didn't provide your bank statements past June of 2021, did you?
I don't know.
But you were on a daily basis using your cell phone and playing games online, correct?
While I was still in the house, yes,
Well, while you're still in the house, you had a baby, didn't you?
correct.
So where was Taryn while you're playing games?
Usually with Lexi, sometimes he would be in my lap.
Well, when you say sometimes in your lap, when it was because Lexi brought him to you, isn't it?
No,
It's because Lexi wanted him and you to have time together and not with you on playing your games and her taking care of Taryn, correct?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Lexi would bring Taryn, rephrase that. Lexi would bring your son to you, wouldn't she?
Objection time frame.
Overruled. You may answer that.
bring how?
Okay, I'll rephrase the question for you. Lexi had been trying to encourage you to have a relationship with your son, correct?
No,
Okay, well, let's talk about how many times you changed a diaper the times you were there. That's 5 months of the baby's life, so it should be easy enough to know.
plenty.
Use the word plenty. Is that because Lexi couldn't do it at that time?
Couldn't do it how?
She was asking you to take care of it because she's cooking, cleaning, or doing other chores around your house.
Sometimes she would ask me.
But you didn't ask her if you could take care of it, though, did you?
She didn't want me to have any control over the baby.
You use that word control very loosely. Aren't you the person that kept telling her that she needed to file for a divorce if that's what she wanted?
Yes, I would have preferred a decision made.
Okay, and you did that for months, telling her file, do it, file, and you text her constantly about it, didn't you?
Possibly.
And that you could have filed for a divorce, couldn't you?
I didn't want that.
But you were telling her she had to, not that you wouldn't.
I don't understand. Can you rephrase?
Yes, you wanted her to file for it. You didn't want to file for it.
I did not want a divorce. No,
But you did say you wanted a divorce. Isn't that correct? When she had not filed.
I may have when I was upset.
Okay, and when you get upset, you say a lot of things, don't you?
Sometimes.
You can be cruel when you're upset and drinking, aren't you?
Maybe occasionally.
How do you don't think that hurt Lexi?
I do.
And you all had a cat, didn't you?
Correct.
Do you remember the time that you kicked the cat because the cat kicked you?
I never kicked the cat.
Well, isn't that what you told Lexi?
No, I don't believe so.
Remember.
I'm sorry.
You remembered, or you just don't remember the specific incident?
I don't believe I remember Lexi and I talking about that.
That wasn't my question. Well, it's partial question. If you were inebriated, it's possible you just don't remember it.
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
Lexi wanted to keep your marriage together, didn't she?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
To your knowledge, Lexi was telling you she wanted to keep the marriage together, didn't she?
She did not talk to me much about it.
But she would regularly tell you she loved you until March 15th when you left, or you needed to leave the house. She would tell you she was wanted to work with you on the marriage and be a family, didn't she?
No, she didn't talk much about it.
You would testify that you weren't physically violent with Lexi?
Correct.
You don't have any memories of it?
No.
Okay, and then as far as the verbal matters, abusive verbal language, you don't have memories of that either?
Sometimes I would get angry and yell.
And yell and tell the court what you would say.
I don't know.
You were obscene about it, weren't you?
I don't know.
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled. I think he said he doesn't know, though.
But I don't know.
Isn't it true that you texted Lexi while you're separated and asked her to send you pictures of her naked body?
Objection best evidence rule.
Overruled. You may answer that.
I don't recall.
You were upset because Lexi wasn't responding to your text, correct? After March 15, 2021.
I was upset because she was unwilling to tell me what I needed to do better.
You didn't know what was wrong with you?
I started counseling, stopped drinking, and I wanted guidance from her, hopefully, so we could move past it.
Okay. And you concealed the fact that you were on SoberLink, correct?
I'm sorry?
You concealed that you had signed up for SoberLink?
Correct.
Your SoberLink didn't take pictures of you, did it?
It did.
It took pictures of you?
Yes, it has a camera.
That's why I'm asking that question. Did you provide any documentation in that regard?
What do you mean?
Pictures of you. How did it confirm you?
It confirms itself, I assume. I don't quite understand.
Anybody could blow into it. Isn't that true?
Don't think so. It would warn me if I had sunglasses on or something that it failed to identify, and I'd have to do it again.
Okay. You missed, didn't you? You testified or it said earlier, you missed a number of occasions of blowing that you in the SoberLink, correct?
Occasionally.
Okay, and you'd miss it by days sometimes, wouldn't you? More than just, a missed time or a missed one time.
I don't recall. I believe I've left it at work a number of times.
And when you left it at work, then you would have 4 days off?
No, not usually.
Sometimes?
I assume so.
And you failed it also, didn't you?
One time.
So you weren't pure about your answer about not drinking. You did, correct?
It blew a .0.
Objection non-responsive, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You haven't stopped drinking, have you?
I have.
As of last night? When?
As of when I signed up for SoberLink.
Okay, but you still failed the alcohol requirement on the SoberLink when it told you you failed.
That there's more to it than that.
All right, and in regards to, there was testimony about you broke a toilet, right?
Correct.
How many toilets have you broken since you've been living with, I'm going to rephrase that. You've broken 3 toilets while living with Lexi between your marriage and the time you were living together. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And that's because you were drunk on each of the occasions. You sat down too hard and fell backwards on it, right?
Not every one of them.
And on 3/14/21, you had an incident where you had defecated in the bathroom, not in the toilet, in the bathroom. Isn't that correct?
Objection time frame.
I gave the date.
He said March 14th, 2020.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch that.
Isn't that true?
Slightly.
Well, slightly. So when the fact that your defecation was on the walls of the bathroom, were you angry at it?
Angry at what?
Whatever caused you to put your defecation on the walls in your bathroom,
I had diarrhea.
on the walls of the bathroom?
It was on the way to the bathroom. I'm not sure I understand.
You were drunk, weren't you?
Slightly.
Slightly as in it wasn't cleaned up by the next day, was it?
I tried to clean it up. I missed a few spots and I heard about it later.
Did you think then that you may have a drinking problem?
No, I think I had a lot of thoughts though.
You had a lot of what?
Thoughts.
What does that mean?
I think I was not in a good place, regardless of if I was drinking or not.
And so were you were self-medicating yourself with alcohol?
Yes,
And when you went to work the next day, after drinking all night the night before, would you consider yourself as being sober when you went to work?
I did not drink on days that I had to work in the morning.
So when would you quit? In a day, what time?
It depended. I'd only drink on my 4 days off.
Well, there's still a day before you go to work, correct?
Well, that day typically I didn't drink.
And so if you weren't, you drank the other days though, correct? Up until March 15, at least.
Usually only twice on my 4 days.
Well, you'd start drinking when you got home, didn't, or besides sleeping, after you woke up, you'd be drinking from when you returned home after working your shift. And you had 4 days. Let's just use your answer of having 4 days off.
Okay.
You would come home, either sleep and drink or drink and then go to sleep, correct?
I didn't usually drink after work now.
Mr.
Your
Trackton,
mom had
just
to
so
come to the house.
Mr. Trackton, just so you know, you have 20 minutes remaining.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Do you think that you haven't taken care of your child overnight, have you?
No,
Yeah, ever?
I mean, like including when I was in the house.
That would be the time I'm referring, ever. I'll use the term ever.
I've I've tried. I mean, there's more to it than that.
You haven't been the primary caregiver of this baby since the birth of the baby, correct?
Correct?
Okay, and Lexi works from home, doesn't she?
Yes.
And she breastfed, didn't she?
Yes.
Okay, and you were jealous of your son, weren't you? He was getting attention you weren't getting.
No.
You would express that to Lexi, though, hadn't you?
I don't know.
Isn't it true, sir, that you, even though you were home with the child from your work, and Lexi needed, or the child had to go to during the first 5 months, the child needed to go to the doctor, you did not go to all the doctor appointments?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Oh, Your Honor, I'm talking about the first 5 months. He testified he went to all of them, but I'm asking him the answer about that wasn't a true statement.
That misstates the testimony.
I heard he went to 2 or 3.
Okay, I'll rephrase the question. Mr. Hughes, there were more than 2 to 3 times that you were home and the child went to the doctor, weren't there?
I don't know.
Okay. And your child had medical health or had health issues during that first 5 months. Do you recall what they were?
No, I do not.
You recall reflux,
Yes.
okay? And that had to be treated, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And how was it treated?
With powder in the bottles?
Just powder?
I believe there may have been another one, but I'm not quite
Okay.
sure.
What about a doctor? Was there a doctor involved?
Yeah.
And you didn't attend those visits as much as they were, that Lexi did attend with the baby, correct?
Objection asked and
without you.
answered.
Overruled. You may answer that, sir.
But I'm not sure.
Do you have, you've talked about you've had long-term suicidal ideations, correct?
Correct.
And in your suicidal ideations, we've already discussed that a weapon discharged, correct?
Correct.
So you had a weapon with the safety off in your hand and loaded, correct?
Correct.
Object, and time, can I get a time frame on this?
Your Honor, I'm not going to even have to think I need one for that.
Well,
I'll
we've already,
rephrase it.
we've already covered the time frame on it.
Okay.
Overruled.
It's been more than that time, though. You've taken a weapon out to tell them to say you're going to kill yourself, isn't it?
No.
You've threatened to kill yourself on a number of occasions to Lexi, haven't you? Since the day of marriage, just to make it then. Is that correct?
I've stated suicidal ideation, not always necessarily that I was going to kill myself by any means. Or
I'm not going to say a means. I'm saying you've told her when you guys have arguments or anything like that, you're going to kill yourself.
I've expressed it even when we didn't have arguments.
Okay. And what therapy did you get?
I did not.
Do you think in your business, being in the business for the last 7 years of going to, you've seen people who have killed themselves, haven't you?
A
In
lot.
your business? Sir?
A lot.
Okay. So you know what it means if you say you're going to do something like that, what it's going to look like to somebody else, correct?
Yes.
And yet you would express it to Lexi. What did you think you were accomplishing by doing that?
I trusted her, and that's how I truly felt.
Okay, but you were doing it with during arguments at certain times, and that wasn't because of trust, was it?
But I don't understand.
You were manipulating her, weren't you?
Not purposely. Typically, our arguments, I was already feeling that way, and she knew that.
So she
Or
was
the
able to
argument.
read your mind? Is that what you're testifying to the court about?
I'm sorry.
You're saying she knew it because she was reading your mind?
I get very quiet and withdrawn, and she knew I was depressed.
But she would always gone very positive, trying to build you up, wasn't she?
No,
You knew she was scared of you and was afraid of the consequences from you, didn't you?
Objection calls for speculation. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Sustain.
I'm asking what he knew. You knew you scared her.
And that calls for speculation.
Sustain.
You intended to scare her when you were causing her to, when she was scared. Isn't that correct?
no,
Did you stop once you realized it?
I don't know. I was scared.
You know what OnlyFans is?
Yes,
You subscribe to that
I may have at one point.
more than once
I don't know.
after you're separated,
It's possible.
before you're separated.
I don't know the time frame.
When you asked your wife to send you pictures of her body, that was a naked body, that was, you thought that was funny?
I don't know. I don't
She-
think so.
You remember her expressing to you it wasn't funny, right?
I don't recall.
And you also have never received those from her, have you? Ever?
No,
She expressed to you she was concerned why you would ask her that you also must have been sending it to somebody else too.
possibly. I'm not sure.
Are you going to, how long you plan to live in your mom's house?
I mean, I feel I don't really have much of a choice now, right now.
Objection not responsive, Your Honor.
Sustain.
Do you have a plan to exit your mother's house where you can reside somewhere else?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you have told Lexi that your parents want you to go for custody, correct?
Possibly. I'm unsure.
Okay. And you have expressed to Lexi that they should be able to see your son, correct?
I've expressed to Lexi what? I'm sorry.
Since March 15, 2021, you've expressed to Lexi, you should be able to bring your child to see his grandparents, correct?
Yes.
Like yourself, nobody made an effort to go to Lexi's house, did they?
I don't want to go over there and cause more problems and make it seem like I'm trying to take him.
Let me ask the question. I got a different answer from the question I was looking for. To your knowledge, your parents haven't contacted Lexi to be able to go see your son, correct?
Objection calls for speculation and hearsay.
Sustain.
I asked about his personal knowledge. Is all I was asking about, Your Honor.
The objection sustained. This is the form of the question.
Okay, and you're not in AA. You think that would help you?
No,
Okay. What kind of support group do you have so you won't drink?
my parents, myself.
Well, you drank when you lived with them and prior to it, didn't you?
In the past,
You have a brother?
I do.
And where's he?
I have no idea.
Sometimes he was at the house? Your mom's house?
On occasion,
He's convicted criminal?
I don't know if he's a convicted criminal.
You don't know? Okay.
I don't know if he was ever convicted.
You've said you just don't want to have a third party supervisor help you with seeing your child, correct?
Correct.
So if it meant you didn't get to see your child, you chose not to spend the money to get to see your child since October 23rd?
For yes,
So by choice, you just wouldn't spend that $110 to have a little bit of time with your son.
I was waiting for the hearing.
This hearing here?
Yes,
Okay, and it was more important for you to have the hearing than to spend $110 to go see your son in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, whatever it is?
no,
You had control over seeing your son at that point, didn't you?
no,
You had control because it was all Lexi wanted was Guardians of Hope. She told you whatever dates, she worked it out, and her only qualification to you was Guardians of Hope. Isn't that correct?
correct.
And your answer was, the order doesn't say I have to have Guardians of Hope.
I also provided many alternatives.
Objection not responsive, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Isn't that what you told her?
Yes,
And the alternatives you offered her was you would pay for one of the Guardian of Hope visits if she paid for the other two.
correct.
So you didn't even pay the one at any time since October 23rd, though, did you?
I'm sorry.
You didn't even pay for one visit with your son since October 23rd, correct?
I'm unsure.
Well, you said the last time you saw him was October 23rd, correct?
I believe
You don't remember?
October 23rd sounds correct.
And when you testified, you asked to see your son every week, correct?
Yes,
But you never agreed to how you would see your son unless it was without a paid third-party supervisor, correct?
correct. We couldn't reach an agreement.
And when you refer to options you gave to that you're offering to do, not one time to do for be able to see your son, not one time did you agree to offer to pay for a supervisor, did you?
Objection, misstatement of the testimony. He already said he agreed to one if she'd pick up two.
Sustained.
Pass the witness, please.
Okay, Ms. Hebner, any additional questions of this witness?
Just a couple, Judge. Okay, Mr. Hughes, let's go back to the SoberLink. You entered into a contract with SoberLink, correct?
Correct.
Is this a document that you were forwarded a copy of,
I believe so.
your contract? Okay, it came to your email address?
Objection, leading, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Is this a document that you were, how did you sign this? What method of signature did you do?
I believe it was e-signature.
Okay, Judge, may I show the witness a document, the SoberLink contract, so I can try to get it into evidence?
Your Honor, that was a very difficult way of saying things for foundation purposes.
Yes,
So.
sorry, it's
you can
weird
show-
saying
you
like,
can
can I
show
hand
him-
this to him?
Hold on, don't share the screen, but you can show him the exhibit for laying the predicate.
Yes, sorry, it's weird.
Including
saying-
what it was.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys, I'm just used to like, can I hand them this, please? Okay, Mr. Hughes, do you recognize this document?
Yes,
And this is your SoberLink level 2?
yes,
All right, and down here at the bottom, this is your signature at the bottom of each page.
Your
Yes.
Honor, could I have a little bit less leading and a little more client responses?
When people are laying foundations or predicates, I allow leading. So, and overruled. If it's a jury trial, I'll be a lot more with you, Mr. Tracton, but have you on a time clock, and I normally allow leading for transitions and predicates. Overruled.
Okay, and down here at the bottom, do you recognize the signature? Down here on the bottom of page. Oh gosh. Down here at the bottom of page 6,
Yes.
is that your signature?
Yes.
Is that your name,
Yes.
your email address?
Yes.
Was the date was listed on here?
July 21st, 2021.
Okay, and again, this is a record that you keep with you. If you were going to your email account, it's a document that you keep at all times.
Yes.
Okay, and at this time, I would move to admit the SoberLink contract as authenticated by Mr. Hughes as a document that he keeps in the regular ordinary course of his business.
Response,
I'm
Mr.
gonna-
Purdy, objection?
Well, I'm going to object to it as being a document that he uses in the regular course of his business, or
Or
other
his
than,
own-
it may be a transactional deal, no personal information, and it may or may not have gotten there. Your Honor, there's,
What's
you know
the
what, I'm going
objection?
to withdraw that objection. Let it come in, please. I'm okay with it.
Okay, R8, is that R8 for purposes of the record? Ms.
Yes,
Eby?
sir.
All right, R8 is admitted.
All right, Mr. Hughes, and so you've got a sober level link 2, correct?
Yes.
All right, and down here, this is how we know whether it's missed, compliant, or non-compliant, correct?
Yes.
And you signed here, and these are where you're taking the tests.
Yes.
Hold on, let me keep up with you there.
Sorry. And so you've got clicked 3 times here, correct?
Yes.
And you're the basic at 159,
Yes.
and you get weekly reports, correct?
Yes. And daily.
And daily reports. Okay, so let's move on to the next exhibit that I would like to share with the witness prior to laying the foundation.
You may.
Okay, Mr. Hughes, do you recognize what is respondents exhibit number 7, these reports that are here?
Yes.
Okay, and are these reports that are emailed to you monthly?
Yes.
And at the bottom of these tests, they list the transactions that you have had with SoberLink, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and these are sent to your email account,
Yes.
and you keep them in your email account?
Yes.
And they list when you have missed tests at the
I'm
bottom?
going to object to what's being testified to at this point by it's not admitted yet, and it's being testified to what they are.
Overruled. You may continue.
Okay, and so, and therefore, the time frame of July of 2021 through December of 2021, correct?
Yes.
And you're the one that receives these monthly.
Yes.
It's a lot like your bank statements that you get, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you haven't altered these documents, have you?
No.
You have no way to alter these documents?
No.
Okay, and at the bottom, they list who the company that they come from.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, Judge, I would move to admit respondents exhibit number 7, the printouts of Mr. Hughes's SoberLink reports as documents that he keeps in a regular course of his business and his transactions with SoberLink.
I object, Your Honor, as to they are as hearsay at best.
Sustained.
I think I'm going to just stand on that for the moment.
Objection, hearsay sustained at this time.
Okay, Mr. Hughes, when you receive these documents, are they documents that are listed in your sober level link 2 document as items that you would receive?
Yes. I believe so.
Okay, and when we're looking at the contract, it states that they will send you these alerts, correct?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, I try to move again to admit the exhibits as a document that's a continuation of the SoberLink Level 2 contract with continuation of his services that he's provided.
Your Honor, this is still hearsay. It didn't change.
Okay, Mr. Hughes, we look at Exhibit 6, which is the business records affidavit.
Exhibit 6, I guess, has a title.
Yes, it's
That part
the,
of- Your Honor, even on Zoom, don't we usually let the foundation be part of what proving up before you tell them what it is and everything?
I just know that she said she's moving to Respondents Exhibit 6. I didn't see anything improper about it. So objections overruled. You may continue.
okay, and Mr. Hughes, may I share Respondents Exhibit 6 with the witness?
You may.
Okay, Mr. Hughes, do you recognize this document?
Yes,
Okay, and is this the document that you requested from SoberLink?
yes.
Okay, and this is what is the title of it here on page 1?
Affidavit for admission of business records.
Okay, and in your contract through SoberLink, do they have the ability to present to you business records affidavit?
Objection, Your Honor, as to what SoberLink has the ability to do.
Sustain.
Okay, do you recognize the pages that follow?
Yes,
And these are months July through October, correct?
correct.
And at this time, I move to admit the Respondents Exhibit 6, the business records affidavit of SoberLink.
Your Honor, I'm going to object as to foundation.
So I'm sorry, I'm a little confused because I don't get to see the exhibits. So this is a business records affidavit, Ms. Ebner,
Correct,
Overlink,
correct.
and has it been filed with the court?
It has been filed as an exhibit.
No, Your Honor.
It was not filed with the court.
The objection sustained.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hughes, so let's move on to your the one time that you had a fail with SoberLink. Are you aware of whether or not you were drinking when you got that fail?
Yes,
Objection as to leading, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Okay, were you drinking when you got the fail?
No.
What were you doing when you got the fail?
drinking a Starbucks double shot.
Okay, what time was this at?
I don't recall.
Do you remember if you blew above a 0.08?
No,
Did you blow above a 0.008?
I don't believe so.
Okay, and then when you took the test again 30 minutes later, did you pass?
I believe so.
Okay,
I'm going to keep objecting as to the leading nature of the questions, Your Honor.
Sustained. Sir, do they not give you I just have a quick question. Did they not, when you have a positive test, give you an immediate opportunity to take a test within like that, within a minute to
I
confirm?
believe
the
it's
positive?
15 to 30 minutes, but it locks you out for a certain amount of time before you can take it again.
Okay, and so did you give a second test after that positive test? with the
Yes, sir.
Starbucks? And what was the result of that test?
I believe I believe I passed it.
All right, all right, I'll
Okay,
go ahead.
so, okay, do you recall if you took a second test like 15 minutes later and it was a 0.006?
I think so.
I know, okay, let me re-ask it. Do you recall if when you blew a second time, if you had passed?
I think it still blew.
Objection,
positive.
speculation, if you can't remember, Your Honor.
Overruled. You may answer that, sir.
I think it still blew positive a second time,
Was it a lower
but it
number?
was a lower number. And the third time I had stopped drinking the coffee. and
Okay.
It blew negative.
Okay, and so that all occurred within a 30-minute to hour window.
I believe so, yes.
Objection, Your Honor, is to leading.
Sustained.
Okay, Mr. Hughes, when we had discussions about, you said you were attempting a business. Do you still have that business going on right now?
I know it's no longer active. I just sell stuff I've already made. or tried to sell stuff I already made.
Okay, and then do you know about when you weren't, when you're with Acadia, would Acadia let you have work if you were drunk?
No,
Objection is
work-
speculation, Your Honor.
What was the objection?
But speculating is what
Abstain.
his employer would do.
Sustained. I don't know if you heard my
Okay.
ruling.
No, sorry, I didn't. Okay, can you work when you're drunk?
No.
How small quarters are you in with other people when you're working as an EMT?
Objection relevancy, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Okay, do you think that you and Lexi had an unhealthy relationship?
Objection timeframe.
Overruled. You may answer that, sir.
occasionally,
Okay, and since exiting from that relationship, has your mental health improved?
yes,
Have you and Lexi fought since March of 2021 to present?
no,
Do you text message her?
no,
Do you only communicate through our family wizard?
yes,
Are y'all messaging late at night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning?
no.
When are your text messages or your our family wizard messages occurring?
Typically between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Okay, and when you mentioned not wanting to go, you got this whole time not seeing your child, you said you did not want to go over there and bother Lexi. What does that mean? You don't want to bother Lexi?
With her accusations, I don't want to appear like I'm trying to take Taryn or the child or anything like that.
Was that really hard to miss Christmas with your son?
Yes,
Was that really hard to miss Thanksgiving?
yes,
Did you miss his first birthday?
I did.
Did Lexi invite you to his first birthday?
No.
Did she tell you he was having a first birthday?
No.
Do you know if he had a first birthday?
Yes,
Did he have a birthday party?
yes,
Did you see photographs of it?
yes, I did.
Did she send you photographs of the party?
No.
How did you see photographs of the party?
Someone on,
Object, it have to be hearsay then.
Overruled.
How did you see photographs of the party?
somewhere on Facebook.
Okay, is that upsetting to you that you missed your son's first birthday party?
Yes,
Okay, and since March of 2021, have you had suicidal ideations?
in the early parts after separation.
Okay, and then can you tell the difference on being on your medication?
Oh, yes,
Do you have any intentions of coming off your medication?
No.
Why are you gonna stay on your medication?
because it flat out helps.
Okay, and did you, when you're drinking, you were only drinking 2 days a week, correct?
Typically,
Because of your work schedule.
right.
Okay, and since that time, have you been asked to go to weddings?
Yes,
Have you been asked to go to bachelor parties?
I would object as irrelevancy, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Okay, have you had the opportunity to drink between now and then?
absolutely,
Okay, and why have you just chosen not to get drunk or drink?
because I want,
Objection, speculation, and leading.
I'm asking
Overruled.
him.
I need to do better for my son.
Okay, and so today, again, all you're asking for is to have a couple hours alone with your child.
Correct.
Okay, and with the distance of the 2 hours, if you start off with a 2-hour block, are you trying to go back to the Woodlands?
It would be nice.
Okay, so you need more than a 2-hour window then if we were to start possession access today.
Yes,
Okay, because you need at least 50 minutes to get to the Woodlands and 50 minutes to get back.
yes,
And if you don't get that time frame, are there options for things for you to do in the Katy area with your son?
yes.
Okay, what are some things that you could do with him?
I could take him to the park. I'm sure there's numerous places we could go walk around.
Okay,
It helps that he's walking now. There's a lot more options.
okay. And then you mentioned that you haven't seen your son at all, but have you been able to FaceTime with him?
Yes,
When did mom finally agree to allow you to FaceTime with him?
Objection is the question, Your Honor.
What was the
I'll rephrase
objection?
the question. When did you start FaceTiming with your son?
Recently,
Okay,
Not responsive.
probably 4 weeks ago, maybe.
okay, did you ask for FaceTime prior to that?
Yes, I had
When did you start asking for FaceTime?
2 weeks before she agreed.
Okay,
2 weeks before she what?
2 weeks before she agreed to allow me to FaceTime.
okay. I have no further questions of this witness.
Mr. Trackton, anything further from this witness?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Stevens, you may call your next witness. I'm calculating your time so you know. You still have 23 minutes, Ms. Ebner, and Mr. Trackton, you have 6.
All right, can we get your mom? I'm so sorry, I forgot to tell his mom to hop on.
Text her.
Yeah, tell
Am
her.
I, am I allowed to text her and tell her to?
You can let her know to log on, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Text her, she should.
Okay, you can see me?
Yes,
We
ma'am.
can. You can proceed when you're ready, Ms. Ebner.
All right, Ms. Hughes, please state your name for the record.
Patricia J. Hughes.
All right, and your connection to this case is?
It's my son.
Okay,
But
and
as far as custody, I'm the grandmother.
all right, thank you. And your son currently lives with you?
Yes.
And when did he move in with you?
March, I think it was like March 15th, March 16th, something like that.
All right, and were you present in March of 2021 when Mr. Hughes had his incident and was committed?
We got there after he had been put in the police car. So yes, we were there at the end. We didn't see anything, and we had been there earlier in the day. Then we had left and came home, and then we drove back when Lexi was concerned there was something wrong.
Responsive, Your Honor.
Sustain.
Okay, so you were present when the police were there?
Yes.
Okay, and when you got there, was Mr. Hughes, your son, was he combative?
No,
Did he volunteer? Did you see him get into the police car?
no,
Okay, was he trying to get out of the police car?
no.
Okay, and what is your understanding of what had occurred?
Objection, Your Honor, is to her speculation.
Sustain.
Did you have an
I can
Then-
testify to what the policeman told us when we showed up.
Your Honor, non-responsive.
Okay, did you have an opportunity to talk with Lexi about what was going on?
After it was all over, I went in to check to see if she was okay.
Sustain after it was all over.
Okay, and what did Lexi tell you?
She was very upset. She said he'd been drinking. She was just very upset. She was not making a lot of sense. She was going to get in the car and drive to her mom's house, which I said, no, I'll drive you.
Overall, overall, after she said she was going to drive to her mom's house. Next question.
Okay, and how long was David in the facility?
Just overnight.
Objection
We-
here, sir, at the moment.
We went and picked him up the next morning, next afternoon, I think it was.
Okay, so you picked him up the next day in the afternoon.
Yes.
Okay, and since that time, have you had any concerns for your son's mental health?
No, at the start I did, but no, he's been seeing a counselor, a
Objection,
therapist.
non-responsive, Your Honor.
He seems to be doing very well.
So whatever the other attorney says something, you gotta stop and wait and let the judge answer on whether or not you're gonna
Okay.
keep talking. Okay, so, you had concerns at the beginning when he came to your house. Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
Okay, and in the last 2 months, have you had any concerns with your son's mental health?
No,
Okay, in the last 3 months, have you had any concerns with your son's mental health?
no,
Have you seen Mr. Hugh, like, your son,
Yeah.
have you seen him drunk at your house?
no.
Can we have
Okay,
a date,
and
Your Honor, on that?
so since March
Hold
of
on,
twenty
hold on, what was it?
twenty-one,
Hold on, she's asking for a date. I think she's giving it to you. Sustain. Go ahead, Ms. Hebner.
since March of 2021, at your home, have you seen Mr. Hughes drunk?
No,
Okay, and, has Mr. Hughes asked if you would be willing to supervise him and your grandson?
yes,
And is that something that you're willing to do?
yes,
Okay, do you think it's necessary that he have someone watch him with his son?
no,
Okay, and if you had concerns about him being alone with your grandson, would you tell that to the court today?
yes, I would.
And back in March of 2021, do you think that he should have been alone with your grandson?
Yes, I don't think he
Objection,
has.
non-responsive after yes, Your Honor.
Sustain.
Okay, have you ever had concerns that he would harm his son?
No,
Did Mr. Hughes ever share with you any marital issues that him and his wife were having?
yes, you could tell that.
Objection, non-responsive, Your Honor.
Sustained after yes.
Okay, what did he share with you?
That there were things not going well.
Time frame, Your Honor?
Overruled.
Okay, and are you aware of Mr. Hughes having mental health issues prior to his marriage?
No,
Okay, and are you able to supervise Mr. Hughes if necessary during the day?
yes,
Okay, and what is it that you used to do for a living?
for 29 years, I worked in a preschool. I was a preschool teacher.
Okay, and so you know how to take care of babies.
Yes,
Have you ever seen Mr. Hughes with his son?
yes.
When's the last time you saw Mr. Hughes with his son?
The last time was June of 2021 was the last time we were allowed to go over to Lexi's and see Taryn with Dave.
Non-responsive, Your Honor.
Overruled.
And has the past 3 months, do you know if they've been hard for Mr. Hughes?
Yes,
Objection, speculation, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Have you, in your opinion, he's your son, have you seen your son struggle the last few months?
Objection, Your Honor, as to when she might have seen the child or what. It's speculation, and I don't want to know the relevancy of the. what
Yeah,
the-
Ma'am, you can testify about your observations of your son. So if you want to just tell me what your observations of your son were since I guess.
I'll make it short, like October, since October. of
Since October.
2021.
I think he's wanted to see Taryn. Taryn's very important to his life. It's been very frustrating for him that something can't be worked
Your
out.
Honor, if it-
Sustained.
Thank you.
Okay, so he's been frustrated.
Yes,
And at any point and him being in your home, have you had any concerns where you thought he's been drinking?
No,
Has he told you, oh no, I left my SoberLink device at work?
no, he takes it with him everywhere he
Objection
goes.
non-responsive, Your Honor.
Sustained after no.
Okay. And have you witnessed him using the SoberLink device?
Yes,
Okay. And have you witnessed him trying to use the SoberLink device with sunglasses on?
Objection non-relevance, Your Honor.
Overruled.
no, I have not witnessed him having his sunglasses on when he's used it. He always has,
Objection
never has
non-responsive.
glasses on.
Sustained after no, I've not.
Okay. And so to your knowledge, he is the only one blowing in this device that you've seen.
Yes,
Okay. I have no further questions of this witness.
Mr. Tracton?
Have you seen your son blow in the device each and every time he's blown in it?
no,
You know if anybody else could have blown in it?
no,
You aware of your son's mental health as far as wanting to hurt himself prior to March 15, 2021?
yes, it was like right in March when he had the meltdown.
Okay, were you aware of him wanting to hurt himself on any times prior to that date?
Once,
And when was that you're aware of?
that was in, I think, November, right after Taryn was born.
And do you know of any other times prior to that?
No,
Have you heard him mention he wanted to kill himself or hurt himself?
just that one time in November, right after Taryn was born.
Now, you have had communications with Lexi, haven't you? Regarding the drinking problem that your son had, isn't that correct?
In November, yes.
November, what year?
It was after Taryn was born, so that'd be 2020.
And Taryn was just less than a month old or in that line?
Probably right about that age, right around that age.
And she shared with you that she was scared of him, didn't she?
She was concerned, yes.
Well, you say concerned, you were talking, she was very straightforward about what she was telling you about his alcohol use, and you acknowledged that someone that drinks as much as him would be an alcoholic.
He could have,
Objection. Did
Hold
you?
on. I think she's trying to answer. Did you say yes to that? No to that? Did you say that to her?
I probably said to her, I thought they both were drinking too much.
Objection.
Yes, they both, in
Sustained.
their relationship, they both have been drinking a
Objection,
lot.
So hold on, you guys, every time you hear that sustained word, just think of stop.
Okay.
When's the last time you physically saw her drink? Or saw Lexi drink?
Her birthday would have been probably before Taryn, so maybe 2019. At her birthday, we went to the cantina. And
Objection
she had,
non-responsive after that, yeah.
Sustained.
After her birthday. So you were unaware that were you aware he was severely depressed prior to March 15, 2021?
not as depressed as he no, I was not aware he was as depressed as he was.
Okay, and during you have observed him drunk too, haven't you?
That one time,
Objection time frame.
Sustained.
Since the parties were married. I'll rephrase that, since the pregnancy of the first or second, well, the first child.
no, first time I saw him really badly drunk was the November when she had me come over. So that was November after Taryn was born.
You have you made any efforts to go visit with your Lexi and the baby since March 15th, 2021? Or let me rephrase that. Yeah, well, let's say you personally, individually go over there before that.
Yes, before
Okay.
March, yes.
Okay, and after March, what efforts did you make to go visit with Taryn as a grandparent?
Every time she would let us come over, we went.
Okay, when was the
We
last
were,
time
we
you
were
went?
with David every time he went over.
Okay, let me ask a question. When did you personally, without your son, after the orders were set, let me say after October 23rd, 2021, how many times have you gone over to see your grandson?
We haven't been allowed.
How many times have you contacted Lexi to ask if you can come see him?
I don't contact Lexi.
Well, so you don't have a good relationship with her?
Not right now. No, I don't think so.
Well, when you say you did have a decent relationship with her, didn't you?
I thought I did, yes.
And she trusted you when she sent you a text talking about her feelings and the problems she was having with her husband, didn't she?
Yes.
And you immediately came over to help because he had been awake for 20 hours, right?
Yes, November, yes.
And you were concerned about his drinking and being up for 20 hours and that he also had been drinking, you were concerned about his drinking.
Objection leading and calls for speculation.
I'm
Overruled.
glad when did you become concerned your son had a problem with alcohol?
Probably the November,
That's the
when
first,
she had me come over in November.
you had no idea your son had a drinking issue.
Not as severe as it was.
Okay, well, let's go back to that word severe. I'm not sure. I'll rephrase that. You have during the time your son has been at your house since March 15, 2021,
Right.
have you observed him drinking
No,
any alcohol?
All
no.
right, that's last question. You're out of time, Mr. Tractor. Ms. Hebner, any additional questions of this witness?
Just Miss Hughes, has your son ever told you that he thinks he has a drinking problem?
No,
Okay. And as far as you know, since addressing his mental health issues, he hasn't been drinking, correct?
he hasn't been drinking, no.
Okay. And following the November 20th incident, did anybody ever call you about any other drinking incidences that were occurring between them?
Yeah,
No.
I'd say the question is going to be vague, Your Honor, and the question is overly broad.
Overruled. You may answer that, or she's answered it. She said no.
Okay. So then you were only ever contacted 2 times about drinking incidences with your son.
Right, and that was from Lexi. I have not been contacted from anyone else.
All right, I have no further questions of this witness.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hughes, for testifying today. You can stay with us, or you're more than welcome to leave the meeting at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hebner, any additional witnesses you'd like to call?
No additional witnesses, just, I think I've got like 4 minutes for a closing.
You have more than that, but yeah, you can give me your closing argument.
Yeah, okay. So Judge, we've gone through a lot of testimony today regarding whether or not Mr. Hughes does or does not having a drinking problem. He's testified that he used to drink twice a week. It wasn't something that he was having to do every day. No one testified that he was drinking 6, 7, multiple days in a row. He was going to work. He's not been fired from his job. He's an EMT. If he was drunk at work and had a drinking problem, he probably would not still have the same job, and he's with the same job that he's been with. He's only asking to see his child and to be alone with his child. He's not asking to make decisions today. He's not asking to have full-blown conservatorship with his child. Mom's got exclusive rights on everything. All he's asking for today is to have some time alone with his kid. He'd like to start off with enough time so that he can get back and forth to allow his parents to see his child. The child's 1 year old. He's missed Christmas. He's missed Thanksgiving. He missed her first birthday. My client's agreeing today to continue using SoberLink, but he just can't afford keeping to use Guardians of Hope and SoberLink. We've all looked at his finances. The opposing party, they've gone through his bank statements, and they went back to 2022 and 2019 and tried to look at his finances. But even then, he couldn't afford himself at that point. The parties have always had separate finances. Mr. Hughes today though we couldn't get in the SoberLink reports, he's testified as to any issues that will be observed and that he'd be able to be impeached on at a later date once the business record affidavit does get filed. He's acknowledged there is one failed report. He's acknowledged there's a handful of missed visits. He's also agreed that he will keep the SoberLink device on him the whole time, even though he probably really doesn't need that. Judge, we had someone who had a mental health issue. We had unresolved mental health issues, and he's addressing those, and he's continuing to address those. And I don't even know that he really needs SoberLink, but for the safety of everyone involved and for peace of mind for mom, he's going to agree to keep that in place. I don't really think he even needs that in place today. He's never had a DWI. He's never had he's testified he's never had write-ups from work.
Judge, Your Honor, there was no testimony regarding any of those. The DWI, anything in regards to.
Overall, you may continue, Ms. Hebner.
Okay. There's never been testimony saying that he's had a DWI. No one's asked him if he's had a DWI because it's not there. No one's asked him if he's ever had write-ups. No one's asked if he's ever had anyone move forward and ask for him to have, that his mental health professional ever asked for him to get involved into AA or to seek a sponsor. He's a guy who was self-medicating, as everyone has asked and addressed of him. So today, Judge, we're just asking that he be allowed to have his child alone and to get a step-up schedule. The interrogatories that were admitted into evidence state that Miss.
Your Honor, I'm going to hold her here. She's about to testify stuff that's not been testified to.
Well, it's in evidence.
It's in evidence.
Hold on, it's R2, so it's in evidence.
And when you review those, Judge, if you don't make a ruling today, when you go through and you look at Miss Hughes's Ms. Lukenbill, I'm sorry, when you look at Ms. Lukenbill's responses, she doesn't think that my client should be alone with this kid until he's 14. She thinks he needs supervised possession and access at 2-hour blocks all the way until his child's 14. And then once he turns 14, then she thinks he should have a couple of hours alone with him. That's completely unreasonable. That's where her position is today. She just wants my client to go away. She doesn't, she wants to be able to take care of this kid. As he's mentioned before, there's been control issues. My client's not asking to have him overnights. My client has acknowledged mom is the primary caregiver. I'm not sure what mom needs to see from my client to think that he's not a danger to himself or anyone else. And so, Judge, you've got our calendar on file, and I hope you grant Mr. Hughes some time alone with this child today.
All right, thank you. All right, the court's ruling is as follows, and I'm going to set entry of this order for January 21st at 9 a.m. And let me say this, I know we're in the lunch break and I've got staff, I need to get them on their way, but I do want to say a couple things. One, Mr. Hughes, the problem you have with the court is anytime there's a history of instability, that concerns a judge. And a judge is always going to err on the side of caution and make sure that we protect children, especially when we've got a really young child like Taryn. So that doesn't mean that I don't recognize the fact that you've made a lot of progress since March of 2021, and I do. The fact that you voluntarily put yourself on SoberLink and it appears only had one positive test during that time, and that positive test was a trace amount, and that could have very well happened through the coffee. I'm not going to judge that today. Anytime there's a positive test, I'm going to assume it's positive. But the fact is, you weren't under a court order to do that, and you did it, which tells me you're trying to build back credibility with the court, and I recognize that, and I appreciate that. That being said, Ms. Lukenbill, when a party begins to build trust back with the court's going to reward that over time. And I'm not saying we're going to do that immediately, because that's not, in my opinion, there's not been a long enough track record of stability here for me to feel comfortable with this child just being left alone with dad. We're going to get to that point fairly quickly, I would think, if he continues on the path that he's on. But we're not going to do that today. But I just want y'all to hear that, because to keep him from seeing his child by himself until he's 14, if this gentleman continues to show stability, is an obnoxious position to take. But for him to think he's going to get an SPO today, when I'm not saying he said that, but that would be an obnoxious position. He's not going to get that. So I'm trying to find something on that makes me comfortable that this child is going to be protected, but yet is still going to build a relationship between the child and the dad, which is very important for this child. But that's got to be a safe relationship, Mr. Hughes, and you're going to have to continue to convince the court through your conduct that it's a safe relationship. And if you do that, this court will continue to expand your periods of possession and your time with your son, because it is very important for a child, if he has a mom and dad that are both loving parents, for him to be around that, because that will make that child a more confident child. It just is such a benefit to a child to have two parents that love them very much. So many the kids that come in front of this court, they have one or two parents that don't care for the child, and that does serious damage to a child. So it will help the emotional stability of Taryn to have both parents involved in their lives and both extended families involved in their lives. The court's ruling is as follows. I'm not going to go through the entire calendar because I don't think, I'm hoping the lawyers can work this out. But I am following the Kelly schedule from the standpoint of dad's going to have, we're going to start with 4-hour periods of possession. That is going to begin now, effective, now, until February the 17th of 2022. So it's about 6 weeks that we're going to do 4-hour blocks. Those periods of possession are going to be supervised by Pat Hughes at all times, meaning pick up, drop off. She's constantly with you. And that's going to continue until I'm comfortable that your mental stability is where it needs to be. Beginning from February, 18th, 2022 to April the 1st of 2022, those periods of possession are going to move to 6-hour blocks. And that again will be supervised at all times by Pat Hughes. Is your dad involved in your life, Mr. Hughes? Are your mom and dad still married or no?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so what is his name?
James M. Hughes.
All right, I'm going to say it has to be supervised by Pat or James Hughes. I didn't hear from him today, but one or the other. I don't want your mom to constantly be the one that does the supervising. So mom or dad will do the supervising for all of these periods of possession. All right, so I'm not sure if I finished that. So from February 18th of 2022 to April 1st of 2022, the periods of possession will be 6-hour windows. From April the 1st of April the 2nd of 2022 to May the 13th of 2022, we're moving to 8-hour blocks. And just so the lawyers know, I'm doing about 6-week increments here. So there'll be 6 weeks of 4 hours, 6 weeks at 6 hours, 6 weeks at 8 hours. Beginning May 14th of 2022 through the child's 2nd birthday, the periods of possession will be 12-hour blocks. And again, those are going to be supervised. That's as far as I'm going to go. My guess is I probably would move into overnight after 2 years if you continue to not have issues with alcohol and you continue to show mental stability. But I'm not going to do that yet. Sometimes I'll do that at 18 months on a child. Sometimes I'll do that at 12 months on a child. But when I have mental stability issues and I have a gun going off 5 years ago, those are things that are going to alarm any judge. And so we're going to take this slowly, and you just need to understand there's consequences to your actions. I'm very happy you're in a healthier place. I hope that continues. But I'm not going to give you any overnight or any kind of unsupervised access until I find out that there's still a pattern of stability showing over these next several months.
Understood.
Now, as far as SoberLink, we're going to continue to do SoberLink because I want to make sure that there's no alcohol during this time period. And the SoberLink is going to need to be done about 2 hours before each visit with Taryn. It needs to be around 2 hours. It can be 2.5. It can be, they're going to give you, like normally I would think a 30-minute window or so, but just make it around 2 hours before each visit. I want one test during the visit. And this may be hard to figure out with SoberLink since he's got such a weird schedule, but I'd like one test 2 hours before, one test during, and one test within 2 hours immediately following a visit. And if that can't be done through SoberLink, then we'll address that at the entry date, and lawyers talk to SoberLink, figure out what other options I have available, but my intent is I'm going to test him immediately before, during, and after each visit that he has with Taryn. Probably until, well, that's going to be during this order. So at least for the next 10 months or so. All right. Any other things that you think I failed to address from either side?
So I just want to be sure the sober link testing is only required to be done during the visits before and after, because there is an option where we can drop him off from the, round the clock, just to tailoring it down to the during possession access only.
Yeah,
There's an option to do that.
I don't think the court has any authority to monitor alcohol when there's not a child around the person. But that being said, Mr. Hughes, alcohol and you do not mix well. The medicine you're on does not mix well. The quickest way for you to lose visitation with your son is to go back to drinking when you're not in possession of them. Because that's going to make me very uncomfortable as a judge, and it'll make me restrict your rights with your child. So continue staying dry. I am concerned you don't have much of a support group in staying alcohol free, but you're going to have to make a decision. Is alcohol and the escaping your mental issues through alcohol more or less important than your relationship with Taryn? And if you make the right choice, you'll continue to be rewarded by this court. Okay, that completes the ruling of the court. We're going off the record. We'll see the lawyer.
Oh, I just have one question.
Yes.
I know you were saying 4 hours during these blocks, but how often? Like on all of his days off? That's the part I'm confused on. Is I know the block and I know the length of time, but how many days? How often?
So on the calendar, let me pull it up. That's what I was hoping y'all would be able to agree on, but it doesn't look. It probably needs my input. Let me pull the calendar up. I had it here.
I believe there's testimony he has 4 days that he gets off, and
Yeah, and I mean, on his days off, like his 24 and then his 24 off, it doesn't make sense to me.
That's 9 days in between each.
and he's got to sleep.
Well, we at a
Hold on, let me work through this in my brain. So he works 24 hours. He's got 2 hours of travel. So he's on 24, and then he's off for 24, but he's only going to have 22 there. He needs to sleep at least 6 hours there. So that's down to 18 hours. It'd be 2 hours to travel to mom's house and back. That'd be so. So here's my thing. That's not really fair. I mean, I can't give him every day that he's off. That's going to wreak havoc on mom's calendar. I'm just not going to do that. Then it's just not, and I don't think that's healthy for Taryn at such a young age. So during his 4 days, he can have the 4 days that he's off. He can have the middle 2 days. So not the day that he gets off, and not the day that he's going back. He'll have the middle 2 days for periods of access. And then during that 9-day block, so he works 5 days and he's off 4 days on the 24th. Is that how that works?
Correct. And that's kind of what you've already mentioned is kind of what we have on the calendar is we've just got 1 day where in between where he sees a child while he's working.
Well, that's what I was thinking I would do. So, whoops, did I lose somebody?
I have you.
I think that might have been grandma.
Okay.
I don't know.
So what my thought is he's going to get 2 days, and this goes for all these periods I'm doing, but 2 days on his 4 days consecutively off. And then I'm going to give him 1 day during his 4 days that he's off on that 9-day block. So he'll have 3 visits per cycle, so to say. Now, y'all are going to have to try to work out how he notifies mom during that, which day he's picking during that 9-day block that he's on 5 and off 4. I think he needs to give her at least 10 days notice or something like that of what he's going to, which day he's selecting. Or if y'all can figure out an easier way so that it's consistent, so that mom can kind of calendar that and know that's the day that Taryn's going, to visit dad. I'll leave that up to y'all. If you can't get that resolved, then I'll make that decision at entry, and then I'll reset y'all's entry so that y'all can get that in the order. But that would be my hope, is that either he gives her 10 days notice each time on his 9-day block of which day he's selecting. Or they just agree that it's, if you can schedule it that way, that it's going to be his second day off, or for example, during each 9-day block. Okay. Anything further, Mr. Tracton, on your end?
We did not talk about what start time or anything else like that.
Mr. Hughes, so you're going to be, you got a lot of driving because you're living in the Woodlands and mom lives in Cinco Ranch. So and I am making the pickup and drop off be at the marital home.
Okay.
There's not going to be a neutral location. It's just going to be, I'm not going to inconvenience mom because of
Understood.
instability you had. So the pickup and drop off is going to be at mom's residence. The pickup and drop off time, do you have a preference? I'm going to ask both parties this, but Mr. Hughes, do you have a preference for your pickup time?
You're gonna have a 4
Um,
block.
I guess it would really depend on,
You wanna
if
do
it-
10, so you don't move your
yeah,
traffic?
I mean, I think 10 o'clock would be okay for me.
That way
10
we're
a.m.?
not,
Yes, sir.
Well, but when we move to 12-hour blocks, that is not going to make,
Right.
can we tailor it for the fact that the 4-hour block so that we're not moving during traffic time?
yeah, so Miss Lukenbill, are you okay with 10 a.m. pickup time on the 4-hour blocks? And
Yes,
return at 2 p.m.?
yes. My only concern is his nap schedule, because he still does nap twice a day, but
Yeah, and I didn't get to hear from you, Miss Lukenbill, which kind of bothers me because I didn't get an opportunity to even get your opinion on a lot of this stuff. But I can't work around nap times. Sometimes dad's going to get time where the child's going to need to nap. I would highly encourage y'all, because structure for a young child like this is so important, that the parents communicate better, and that our family wizard and mom, you just say, this is his routine right now. So when dad has a 4-hour block, if there's a, hour and a half normally that the child's napping during that time, dad can try to accommodate that and keep the child on the schedule.
Definitely
I
would
don't, if
follow.
he doesn't get a
Let me
nap,
finish.
sorry, if he doesn't get a nap, he's cranky, and I
I
don't
know.
want him for that for David. I want him to be
know.
happy.
Right.
I
Well, what
know.
time do you take his nap at? So, I mean, we can just ask that question now. I mean, can we ask for that?
I have no problem trying to accommodate.
Hold on, what time does he normally nap?
From like 9:30 till 12, and then 3 to 5. So, I mean, if you picked him up early, maybe he could nap in the car ride.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe that hour car ride would be a good nap.
Yeah,
'Cause,
it's
you
because
know, he
that's
does
going to
go
be,
sleep.
it will be a good nap because he'll be in the car for at least an hour normally.
Right.
So that
So
actually,
9
we're going to do the
Yeah.
10 a.m. We're going to do the 10 a.m. and he's probably going to get a nap on the car ride on the way back. And that may throw his schedule off a little bit, but we're going to do the 4-hour block from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. On the 6-hour block, I'll either do 9 to 3 or it'll be 10 to 4.
Okay.
Let's do 9 to 3. That way he can have that 9 o'clock nap time. Does that work?
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely.
We'll just,
Okay. So the 6-hour block will be 9 to 3.
that way he's home in time to get ready for bedtime. Sounds like
Right,
mom
right.
gets him right around.
Judge, my main concern is with my work schedule. How I'm gonna handle the days when he comes back at 2 or 3. I was planning on putting him in daycare soon, because I work a full-time job. I have,
Give me a second. I'm going to summarize.
The
He's an
testimony I
auditor.
heard was, hold on, the testimony I heard was you worked from home, and that's, I have to rule based on what I hear. And I
do.
didn't get to hear from you, which is frustrating for me because I had a lot of questions in my brain that I had for you that I wanted to hear, but what we're doing on these visits is it's 10 to 2. It's 9 to 3. The 8-hour is going to be 9, 10, 11, 12, 9 to 5. And then the 12 hours will be 8 to 8. That's the best the court's going to be able to do. Lawyers, you can always deviate if something's better for the child, because I was limited in how much I got to hear today. Y'all won't have a time schedule on your final trial. but it's impossible for the court to just let every temporary orders hearing have as much time as they want. And anyway, so we'll deal with the other issues. And if something needs to be modified, it's a temporary order. The court can always modify it. All right, thank you all for appearing this morning. Any other issues that we have, we'll work out at entry. We're going off the
Thank you,
record.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. May we?
Oh, who's preparing? I presume.
Ms. Hebner, sorry, Ms. Hebner's
I'm a-
prepared.
And just so we know, we can put also the language, just the standard language pickup from school. And if the little boy's at daycare, because mom drops him off in the morning, as long as dad's listed on the daycare documents, he can just pick up from there.
Right.
I'm gonna
Okay.
tailor it that way. I know the judge said marital residence, but I'm gonna put school language in there if you're okay with that. I'm just gonna do it this
Yeah,
now.
yeah. If the child gets put in daycare, dad can pick up at daycare, and dad needs to be listed as an emergency contact and a person authorized to pick up from daycare, and he can pick up and drop off at daycare if that's more convenient. But that's standard language. The Texas Family Practice Manual, standard language needs to be in there for all the pickup and drop off exchanges. Okay,
Okay, perfect.
thank you.
Judge.